Hello, welcome back to my channel. It is Amanda. I thought I would go through my eyeshadow palettes and pick out some that I think are perfect for fall. First of all, I'm not a person that says, oh, it's fall, you have to wear warm tones, rusts, things like that. I do like those. I like those year round, and I do maybe gravitate towards those more in the fall. But listen, if I want to wear a cobalt blue eyeshadow in the middle of October, I'm also going to do that. Wear whatever you want, I don't care. But when we're thinking about fall palettes, I went through my collection and I pulled out some that I thought, yes, this is actually really nice for fall. We're going to look at those. If you guys want to look at some fall eyeshadow palettes, then just keep watching. I wanted to grab a mixture of drugstore and high-end. I tend to be, you know, I'm more of a drugstore, middle of the road kind of girl, but I definitely do have a few higher end palettes, and we're going to talk about all of them. Let's start with the biggest that's in the back here. This is the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. This is, I don't know if it is anymore. It used to be an iconic palette. This was the palette that everyone wanted. I wish the packaging was on the actual palette because the sleeve is absolutely beautiful. But this is a traditional, like, fall berries, very warm palette. The shadows in here are quite amazing. I do understand the hype over this palette, and this is one that I neglect. That's pretty much a theme for any palette that's not a ColourPop palette. I neglect things a lot. Like this Noble Woman shade. I barely touched it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Just absolutely beautiful pigmentation. This is Your Majesty. These are smooth. They don't feel flaky. Royal Highness. Ooh. They are smooth. They're not patchy or chunky. They are really beautifully milled. The mattes are also lovely. Empress and Ladyship are my... It's a very reflective palette, sorry. Ladyship and Empress. Ladyship, when you look at those colors. Oops, I just got eyeshadow all over my pants. Oh, this is Empress and Ladyship. With this purple shade, it has to be built up. It's not like straight up pigment right away, which is fine. I actually would rather build up especially a matte shade versus just applying too much and not having it blend away. So you can build it up. This is a really beautiful palette that I definitely should use more in the fall, and if you have it, you should too. The next palette we have is one that I have shamefully not even used yet, but this is one that I am intending to use this fall. And that's the Melt Gemini palette. Oh my gosh, look at these greens. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. But these colors right here, they make me salivate. They're so beautiful. I guess I shouldn't say that this is a great palette for fall because I've not used it yet. Mochi. Oh my gosh, it's like baby puke. It's so beautiful. Mochi, Leo, and Goals. This is left over from the other one. Oh my god. This is Lorelei. This is Gemini. Oh my gosh, Lorelei is amazing. I haven't used this palette yet, but I definitely think that this color story is just like fall. The next one is the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette. I think the one they released this year is called Extra Spicy. I have definitely used this palette, and every time I use it, I think, wow, I really like how this looks. But it's one that I very easily forget about, and I don't know why. Because the colors are here, they're very warm, there's plenty of mattes, plenty of shimmers. This Hot Toddy shade is sort of a gold red duochrome. It's very beautiful, but I kind of forget about this guy. Slice of Life. Oh man, I will never not love a green eyeshadow. Holy moly, that's beautiful. Is this supposed to look like gingerbread? To me, it just smells like vanilla. I actually hate gingerbread, so I'm glad it doesn't smell like that. Next, we have the Master Palette by Mario from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This palette is... Whenever I look at this palette, I'm like, this is so boring. It's kind of a basic palette, but the colors are very pretty. They work well together. They blend well. Anastasia has a very nice eyeshadow formula, I think. These three here are the only three mattes in the palette, and then the rest are shimmery shades. But they're not so shimmery that they can't really perform like mattes. I mean, you can kind of use them as mattes a little bit, and it's not going to overwhelm anything with shimmer. It's a really lovely palette. This is definitely not available anymore. It hasn't been for a long time, so I'm sorry to tease you, but I do tend to reach for this one a lot in the fall. There's nice green, there's a deep navy color, there's warm tones, there's a lot in here that I just feel like I want in the fall. So this is from Marc Jacobs. It's one of the iconic palettes, and this is the Editorial Palette, and this is newish to my collection, but this color story is beautiful. And these shadows are gorgeous. They blend flawlessly. They blend on top of each other flawlessly. They are pigmented and they last. There's not a ton of fallout. I typically experience a little fallout with any type of shimmery shade. That's not a deal breaker for me, but it's not enough that you think, oh, there's glitter all over my face. Okay, good. I love this palette. I purchased this on sale earlier this year. What day are we in? I don't know. And I wish that I had purchased more because it was like half off and then 20% off. It was like $20 after all the discounts, and it's beautiful. This green is amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's a greeny gold. It's absolutely beautiful. Definitely love this. If you have one of these palettes, what is your favorite color? Because this is the Editorial. The next palette is from, I laugh because it's so small, but it was so expensive. This is from Viseart, and this is their Dark Edit palette. And it's a little baby! I think this is one that I purchased from the spring Sephora sale. There are 4 very shimmery shades on the bottom and then 8 mattes up here. There's an olive, there's an orange, there's a purple. I really love those all of the time, but especially in the fall. And then, colors that will coordinate with them. Here's the thing about this palette. I do think that it's nice, and I love the colors, and I kept it. I was thinking about returning it. But I think this was like $36. I don't know. I don't think that it's worth, I don't think that I would say, yes, you have to buy this palette. It's $36. It's pretty, but that's a lot of money for 12 little eyeshadows. And the thing is, I'm never going to finish a complete palette. So it doesn't matter how big the shadows are. But if I'm spending $36 on something, I want a little more. Next we have one from Nabla Cosmetics. This is their Secret palette. And I keep wanting to call it the Secret Garden palette. So if I say Secret Garden, I don't mean that. I just mean secret. And this is a little, it looks like a garden to me. That's why I keep calling it the Secret Garden palette. There's a black here, which again, we'll never use. This is a little more jewel toned fall. We've got a teal, we've got this really beautiful purple, we've got another berry, but this rosemary color. But we've got some more jewel tones happening in here, and I like that because I love jewel tones. The shades are beautiful. There's also like this random pink in here. It's kind of a weird color story, but I dig it. It's a little different. I like it. Oh, this my hands are disgusting. This Play Hard shade is sort of like a green shifty topper shade. So you can use that on just about anything and change up the color. It's really a cool, it's really quite an interesting palette. I have not used this one enough to say that I'm obsessed with the formula, but I do think that the color story is very beautiful. And I kind of can't remember how the formula was because I haven't used it in a while. Look at that, I'm a loser. Now we're getting into the drugstore section. Well, first drugstore / indie section. First we're going to talk about this one. This is from Juvia's Place. This is a Saharan palette, and I think this is one that's available at Ulta. And I think that this is probably my favorite Saharan palette. This green shade right here, which I'm not going to try to pronounce because I will ruin the name, and I don't want to do that, is so beautiful. I think this is kind of a weird color palette because you wouldn't necessarily think this, you know, very white blue shade looks great next to this matte red. Like, it's kind of weird, but I appreciate that because honestly, oh my gosh, this green. You know, there's a lot of very similar palettes in the world, and I don't really want them to all look the same, so I appreciate that these colors are kind of weird, but somehow all look amazing together. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that's my favorite Juvia's Place palette. Next we have one from Collab. This is from the Sally Beauty, well, it's sold at Sally Beauty. And I love this palette. This is the, what is this called? Their Palette Pro eyeshadow palette, and this is in the shade After Hours. They have a bunch of these now. There's brights, neutrals, warm tones. I would assume it's, you know, this is probably like the most cool tone palette. The silver is so creamy. The green, this green makes me want to be a better person. It's so beautiful. Obviously, I love green eyeshadow, so if you don't love green eyeshadow, you're gonna think, okay, psycho. But this matte green also in here, this matte like pine green is beautiful. It's not patchy at all. Ow, just pinched my finger in the, it's not patchy at all. It can be built up very easily. See, I'm even wearing a green watch. I love green. This is the only palette that I've tried from this line. I believe these are $14 or $15, which is expensive for a drugstore brand. If you're considering Sally Beauty Supply a drugstore, you can see the use in the green. I've used it a lot. The rest of the shades are all lovely too, but that green is, I love you so much. Alrighty, we have, oh, you know what? I had one more high-end one. I forgot this, and I can't believe I did because this one is so perfect. This is the Persona Identity palette. This is the first one. I believe they just re-released this in plastic packaging. I might be wrong. This palette is kind of unassuming looking. It just looks like a pretty warm to neutral palette, but it's beautiful. Every shade in here is just about perfect. The mattes are seamless, pigmented, not chalky. The shimmery shades are subtle but impactful. It's just a really, really well-made palette. I don't have the Identity 2 palette that's on my list, but I love this one so much. The shimmery shades are creamy. It's just a lovely oh, look at this purple. Look at this plum color. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And it's covered in stains. That's probably not helping anything. We have two from BH Cosmetics. I really love the travel series from BH Cosmetics. This, like, well, it's not just travel, because I have the Weekend Vibes line in the same type of packaging. And the Avocado Toast palette is amazing. I don't know why I didn't grab that. It's greens and it's amazing. Add that to the list. But I grabbed these because these have a little more color in them. This is the Beautiful in Barcelona. The packaging is lovely. They do have a mirror, but I don't use those. This is for more jewel tones. There are tons of shimmers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes. This blue is, like, I barely touched it. What? Hold on here. Ugh. Makes me sick. Carnation, I love this shade. I use this Carnation shade is gorgeous. But this is just a really nice palette. And I feel like these are kind of underrated. I reach for these quite often. And I think that they're beautiful palettes. The other one that I have is the Smitten in Switzerland. And while I haven't used this one as much, it does have some greens in here. If you want more greens, the Avocado Toast palette is where it's at. But again, the shadows are pigmented and lovely. They're beautiful shades. Nightfall. This black is, that was like one swipe of this black. What? Oh my gosh. Why did I do that? Now my hand's gonna stand up. Oh no! Okay, well, the black is very pigmented. Smitten in Switzerland is another one. Plus, another reason that I do like the travel series is it makes me feel like I've traveled somewhere. Because, you know, we're not. And honestly, like, I'm probably never going to get to go to Switzerland, even though I would love to. That would be beautiful. So it's like going on a trip, but staying in your house. I do have 3 more palettes, and we haven't talked about ColourPop yet, so they're from ColourPop. The first 2 are discontinued. I think this one is. This one is one that I purchased at Ulta, actually. It's the Rendezvous palette. And this palette is gorgeous. I mean, are you seeing this catch color right here? This copper fire color? Completely beautiful. Release. Oh, I get it. Catch, release. Oh, yeah. Again, with the very warm tones and then this pop of blue, I just think that's so interesting. What does this black look like? That's also very pigmented. I'm not going to swatch it on my hand because my hand is already stained. I love this palette. If you ever see this on like a D-stash, or if you're in the ColourPop Fanatics group or anything like that, I would recommend this one. I love this palette. Probably my favorite ColourPop palette ever is definitely discontinued, and that is the Good Sport palette. Why they discontinued this, I'm not sure. This palette is so beautiful. It's very warm, obviously. These shades are like liquid. What is this green called? Ebb. And then this gold is called Licious. Absolutely, like absolutely beautiful. The mattes are very pigmented, very blendable. I think personally that ColourPop improves their matte formula every time they release a palette. I just see it getting better and better, and that's so nice. This purple shade up here, Sista, I will quite often wear this as an all-over lid shade if I'm in a hurry and I have time to put one eyeshadow on. I will just sweep this all over the lid, and it's beautiful. It makes my eyes look very green, so it makes me look more alive and awake. I love that palette. ColourPop, why'd you bring that one back? And then the next one is the All That palette, and I believe this was actually their Valentine's Day palette, but I mean, it's a bunch of red eyeshadows. Like this, especially if you want to do red with, you know, pair it with something warmer, like oranges. That would be amazing. There's a pressed glitter in here, which I don't really ever use, but this Infatuation shade is, it's like a pressed foil. It's weird feeling, but it looks like liquid on your, it looks like liquid, like a liquid shadow. Can you see how shiny is this? It looks like liquid shadow, but it's not. It's a black with glitter in here, so if you are sick of matte black glitter or matte shadows, you can get a black with some glitter in it. I guess that's maybe more for like New Year's Eve. This sort of turned into just reviewing individual palettes, sorry. Some of the names are kind of weird, like this one's called Please Me. But look at how pigmented they are. This does Please Me. They're so beautiful. This is Please Me, and this is Silhouette. Those are some of my favorite fall palettes. Tell me what palettes you like to use in the fall. What sort of colors do you like to wear in the fall? Are you a traditional fall makeup person? Do you like pastels in the fall? Do you like whatever? Just tell me what you like for eyeshadow in the fall. And tell me what your favorite palettes are to use for those looks. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would be so kind, if you would subscribe, that would be great. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.